So I just want to thank the speakers, truly from the bottom of my heart, for coming out here and sharing your inspirational stories. I know it's far from easy to come here and talk about such intimate details of your lives and just be so candid. So truly, truly, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was just going to mention.
Question box is going to be.
Okay, so right now we have some time for a question and answer. We're hoping that maybe towards the end we'll also have some time for everyone to mingle and maybe make connections, get to know each other. So inshallah, we're hoping to have time for all of that, and then maybe the last 10 minutes or so from about 8:50 till about 9 o'clock, we'll just have our conclusion. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask them. If you don't feel comfortable doing so, you can write them down on a sheet of paper and then put them in the suggestion box. We can take them out and ask them for you. So I'll just box will pass around. Is there anyone who, you can come up here and ask them, or wherever you're standing, wherever you feel comfortable.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a professor of special education. My name is Sadia Warsi at National Louis University, and today I'm off of all carbs, so this is, really distressing me. But aside from that, I was very, very, I don't think the word is inspired, but my entire research looks at the involvement of Muslim parents of kids with disabilities and their experiences. And I've been doing this research for most of my career, but this is the first time in a decade of being a professor where I have found a forum. I've done nationwide studies, but basically over the phone, and I was telling some of the people on the panel before that in my past studies, there hasn't been this need of actually going beyond denial, because the parents that I had interviewed were mostly of very young children. So it's good to see a spectrum, and so I will be starting a new study soon, and I just wanted to ask the parents if they would be interested in focus groups. I can cook. I can bring the food. I can come to your house. I have GPS. But yeah, I think the range of experiences needs to go. I know their goal, and the goal of the organizers is to educate the Muslim community, get the Muslim community involved. But I feel being a professor, being in academia, a lot of policies get changed because of what we write and who reads it. So from my end, I'm interested in, these profound messages and voices, getting in the right journals and, being read by teachers who actually service all our kids. And there hasn't been much research looking at Muslim families and their experiences, which are quite different from mainstream experiences, and they need to be contributed in the literature. So, I'd like to meet with each of you before you leave, and thank you.
I actually had a quick question. You mentioned earlier that Dr. Mustafi, you worked in developmental disabilities. Did you develop a model?
Yes, I do.
What's the name of that model?
I developed my staff and I developed core curriculum for direct support staff working with individuals with developmental disabilities. And then and that was adopted and is required in all state-funded institutions in Illinois serving individuals with developmental disabilities. In addition to which, we also developed the first ever standardized QMR, qualified mental retardation professional. Now we call it qualified intellectual disabilities professional training curriculum in the United States, and has been adopted by a number of states as well. We're the only state that had it initially. And so we trained thousands of trainers to implement the courses within their own agencies. We trained, one of my areas of specialty is seizure management. We developed the first ever standardized curriculum to train physicians, nurses, direct support staff, and administrators on seizure recognition, documentation, and response. And I've also worked on legislation specific to that legislation.
Sabina, go ahead, Sabina.
My name is Sabina Abdul-Wazir. I just had a few questions for the panel. One is, as a Muslim community, you talked about like not having enough staff and stuff in Sunday school for support. What exactly does that entail? Can a normal person, just a mom that says, hey, I have some extra time, or how can we, like, what can we do as a community? What do you need from us? Do we need to take special classes, or can we just come in and get trained on the job? How does that work?
I was being lazy.
Sabina, that's a great question. We were in, I'm giving Islamic Center of Naperville's example. What we had was we had a varied group of people who were committed to this. One, her name is Sister Jawahar Ali. I don't know if some of you may know her. She's in the field. She, as a professional, worked with children with disabilities, but she volunteered her time on Saturday mornings to come in and work one-on-one with our children. So tactics that she used as a therapist or as, you know, an aide, she was able to come in and do that. Another sister from the 204 district who was a teacher's aide in a classroom who had no professional training to work with these children would come in. A third sister came in just because she had compassion for these children. So if you came to ICN and said, you know, I really want to lend a hand, that's what we need. Every disability is different. I cannot speak for every disability, but certainly the children that were involved in that school situation were able to in some way be streamlined. It's really, and this is my point to everyone, is get to know what the need is. Don't come and look at my child and say, oh, she looks different, or she's just jumping around, or she's snatching from purses, or she's eating soap. What do I do? Get to know, watch her. We had a 13-year-old girl come up to me after I gave a talk at Saturday school and said, what can I do to help you? A 13-year-old girl, mashallah. She said, I'll be her buddy. I'll take your kids if you can't come. Anyone. She, you know what she did? So we said, oh, sure, Lena, you want to come and help? We assigned her to come and sit and eat lunch with Marianne in the lunchroom. Do you know? They assigned a special ed table. I cringed. Said, no, we want inclusion. There are only 5 kids. Why don't we have them sit with other children? What are they going to do to them? I mean, this is how we're going to live and learn, right? So Lena would come and sit in the lunchroom with my daughter because nobody else would. And it would be me and Lena and Marianne and 400 other children. People I have to say this, people in the community have sat next to me in the masjid, and if Marianne made a little noise, because children with autism vocalize, even though they don't speak clearly all the time, they vocalize, they make noises. And we'd be at a Hajj program, or we'd be at somewhere, you know, back in the day when I used to go. I don't go anymore. And she stretched her legs out. We were sitting on the floor of the sisters' hall, and she stretched her legs out. That was it. She didn't touch the woman. She didn't kick the woman. You know what the woman did? She kind of noticed that something was going on. She moved her child, and she moved away, and she kept giving us looks. And I thought, well, lady, you're not going to catch it, you know? So my point is, to get back on track, is anyone can help. You're not expected to be a nurse or a therapist, but an extra set of hands, I think I speak for everyone, is always welcome. I had a neighbor and a friend who sensed when I was overwhelmed. We don't sleep at night. I mean, Marianne doesn't wind down and doesn't sleep. We function on 3 hours of sleep. Do you know what it's like to function on 3 hours of sleep? day in and day out and day in and day out. Alhamdulillah, we do it. But the point is, I had a friend who acknowledged that she started living close by and she saw the toll it takes. So she'd come over and she'd rub my neck. And anytime she made some good food, she'd drop off food.